Joining us now is legal practitioner and public affairs analyst Okiki Adeniran in Lagos to examine the legal and political implications of the unfolding developments ahead of the Osun governorship election. And we will also be joined by New Central correspondent Bernard Akede and Mercy Babajide, who are on the ground in Osun State. But let us begin with Mercy. Mercy, please go ahead and tell us, where are you at the moment, and also what is preparations like, for INEC, on the forthcoming Osun State governorship election?
To you there in the studio. We are at Moro a couple of minutes back when Oshogbo, of course, we left because we were headed to Ife. But then part of the conversations we had with the INEC rec, that is Mrs. Babalola, was how prepared INEC is for the August 15th election in Osun State. And she, of course, assured us of how they are ready. I'll be speaking numbers because she gave a couple of numbers. But then I'll start with the fact that she said INEC is ready, and then most people have collected their PVCs. She said over 400,000 cards have been collected. She stated that the commission started the voter registration card exercise in August 2025, and then it ended April this year with over 512,622 cards, and over 400,000 people, I beg your pardon, have collected their cards, which marks 79.2%. And we, of course, asked her questions about how ready they are with dispersing sensitive and non-sensitive materials. And she said most of the sensitive materials are on ground, and they arrived as far back as July. And she ensured that she hopes she can, of course, not conclude. She will try as much as possible to ensure that there is a free, fair, and credible election come August 15.
All right, well, thank you so much, Mercy, for that update. We will definitely reconnect with more of our correspondents who are on the ground in Osun State. But for now, let's bring in Okiki Adeniran, who we did tell you is a legal practitioner and public affairs analyst. Okiki, thank you so much for joining us at this time. So to begin with, President Tinubu ordered the EFCC to vacate the court order freezing Osun State's account. Now, from a legal perspective, what does this intervention tell us about the relationship between the presidency and anti-corruption agencies?
Well, I believe that this particular instruction from the president, right, to the EFCC is not usual, and it's not normal. To speak plainly about it, it's an instruction which we call from an executive order, right, as it is. Now, Constitution already, gives the power to EFCC to ensure that it investigates fraud and crime, monetary crimes. And in that sense, it means that EFCC has, that power, much power, that even the executive cannot even, gainsay. And in this instance, for the presidency to have, given that order, what it shows is that EFCC only has the constitutional power. It has a constitutional nomenclature in that sense. But, operationally, it means that the executive can still, get into the operations of EFCC and instruct EFCC on what to do, which, shows that there is really, or there's typically no independence or a clear picture of independence of that particular agency. It speaks, so much to anti-corruption, fights we have right now in the country. And I believe that most times, when these things, when they happen, it is seen, and it takes away the major trust the citizens, have in agencies like this. So typically, I'll say that it's not what is expected to happen, and it's not normal.
Okiki, you said that, the EFCC has a constitutional nomenclature. Now, the EFCC insists that it acted within the law, while the Osun State government argues that the action was unconstitutional and has taken the matter to court, like we all know. So legally, where does the stronger argument appear to lie?
Well, I believe that the stronger argument lies with the state, the Osun State. typically before an account is, placed on a post-note debit or, a freezing order, given to a bank, it has to, that particular agency has to approach the court. In this particular case, we do not have an order, a valid subsisting order of the court against Osun State, an order saying that please put a PND on the state account. The question is that does EFCC have the right to, post a PND on account, or probably get an order to the bank to post PND, or to put a PND, on an account? Yes, the EFCC has the right to do that, but it has to be done through a valid court order. Even if that's going to happen, maybe there's a fraud that's been suspected, it does not exonerate or probably take away the fact that the EFCC has to approach the court to get an order. But if it is very urgent and has to happen so that it can, preserve monies in the accounts, it has to probably be a temporary thing that will be done, right? And it has to be done transparently. It has to be something that, there must have been an investigation that has been conducted and a report, that has been shown, not this kind of backyard, order or backyard PND that was placed on an account in a very short time before the election. It speaks to the fact that, we need to question the act of EFCC in this particular instance. All
right. So, but then with just days to the governorship election, do you think that the controversy surrounding the account freeze has the potential to affect the credibility of perceived fairness, of the poll?
Yes, if you ask me, yes. It has, it has that totally, because right now we can see that EFCC, froze the account. That's the one. That number two, the executive, the presidency requested that the PND should be removed. That's number two. And it means that the president that was able to, instruct EFCC to remove the PND on the account, and also instruct the Independent National Electoral Commission, to, declare a particular candidate as the governor of Osun State, and, it speaks to the fact that the people of the state, right, will probably be thinking right now, if the election will be free and fair, which means that what we are preaching and what we are, pushing, forward, that there should be a free and fair election, might probably, not be what we'll have, tomorrow. And, it can also discourage the citizens, the people of the states from even voting, because now they can perceive that there can be, a way that the executive or the arm of the government, the presidency, can give an instruction that, as it is, a particular candidate should be declared as a winner, and that happens. So this is a big discouragement. Although I believe that the people, right, if they will do what they want to do, probably still go out and vote. But I in every way condemn the act, of the presidency in speaking to the fact that that particular order should be removed, and or even getting into this, into all this by telling FCC to remove the order, and by EFCC even placing the PND. This is the wrong time. It's wrong timing, and I feel that this particularly shouldn't be what we should have in our democracy.
All right. Now, looking beyond the elections, are there lessons that Nigeria's institutions should take from this episode to ensure anti-corruption investigations do not create the perception of political interference, especially during electoral periods?
Plainly, I believe that as anti-corruption, agency, what they should look at, or what they should plan at every point in time, is to make sure that their investigations are clean and clear, and everyone can see that they are really doing their job, not being interfered, not being spoken to by a particular arm of the government, right? In every sense of it, if an order was gotten, and let's say an investigation had progressed before now, an order was gotten and was presented to the bank, and things were done properly, nobody will probably think that it was a way to frustrate the efforts of the sitting government. But now that there was just an overnight act of placing the PND on the account, it shows that basically there's something going on, an effort to, to victimize or to terrorize the sitting, government, and also to ensure that things that they're supposed to do during this time are not being done to convince the voters, not to vote for them, right? So I believe and I advise that for every agency of government, as they have been created by an act, they should stick to the act and run independently and ensure that, they are not being interfered by any arm of the government.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Okiki, for your time and for speaking on this.